This is your Usmnt Abroad weekend update from February 20th to February 22nd of 2026. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, I know, it's been a while, right? We missed the past 2 Mondays for a few reasons, the 2 main ones being there weren't a lot of headlines, there wasn't much to talk about, and I was dealing with explosive diarrhea. But don't worry, one of the 2 has been dealt with. And you see, the past 2 to 3 weeks have been pretty good for Tactical Manager, but not so good for the Tactical Manager haters. Because, you know, the more they release the Mr. Epstein files, the haters keep searching for my name, but they can't find it. I've never been to the island, so you won't find it. So yes, Tactical Manager is not in the files. Do I look like British royalty to you? Okay, now before we start, don't forget to drop a like in this video if you haven't already, and that random comment in the comment section down below to rig the YouTube algorithm, to push us further, okay? Let's roll the intro and start the recap. Okay, let's go to Italy. Let's start with the Americans that play in the Serie A. The first 2 being Christian Pulisic from Milan and Ben Cremaschi from Parma, because Milan and Parma clashed over the weekend. And on Sunday, Christian Pulisic was back in the starting 11 for Milan. He started and played 62 minutes for them during their 1-0 loss to Parma. Now, with that, they can say goodbye to their hopes of winning the league, of winning the Scudetto. Inter Milan is not going to lose the Serie A this season. Milan will not catch up. Now, Pulisic was likely subbed out because his minutes are being managed. He's not 100%. He's not 100% fit because he's dealing with a chronic injury. Now, the reason I say that is because he was playing well. It doesn't make sense to sub him out unless they're managing his minutes. He was creating chances for himself. He was creating chances for his teammates. He did hit 3 shots on target. I don't remember him making any mistakes. It was a good performance that unfortunately ended with no goal contributions. I also don't think Pulisic lost the ball once throughout the game, despite being very much involved in the final third. And you know, it kind of sucks that Pulisic isn't 100% because he was having a great season, and he has right now no goal contributions for Milan in 2026, mainly due to injuries. Now, what I have noticed more and more, the more I watch Christian Pulisic, especially during his time with Milan, is that he has become a far more intelligent player, mostly off the ball. His positioning, off the ball movement has been incredible. He's maybe even more effective than he was a few years back. But I do miss the days when he was able to blow by defenders like it was nothing with ease. He lost that, and I don't think he can do it consistently. His 1-beat-1 just isn't the same as it used to be when he arrived at Chelsea. Yeah, which is unfortunate because Pulisic is probably as good as he's ever been. He's just not as fun to watch as he used to be until he had that nasty hamstring injury. Now, Ben Cremaschi, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Parma, as always, and during the summer, he will very likely be back in Major League Soccer. Next up would have been Yunus Musa from Atalanta, but he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Atalanta this weekend once again. And I'm going to be very kind to Yunus Musa here, and I'm just going to say it. It's been a garbage season for him. It's been a terrible season. And you may be wondering, that's not really being kind to Yunus Musa. It is, because his season has been worse than garbage. There's a lot of words that I will use for his season here, and I'm avoiding it because I got sponsors and this is YouTube, but it's been a terrible season for Yunus Musa, to say the least. Last but not least, in Italy, we have Weston McKennie from Juventus. And on Saturday, McKennie started and played the full 90 minutes for Juve during their 2-0 loss at home to Como, a team that is literally named after a lake. And not even a cool lake like the one that has the Loch Ness Monster, just a regular lake. Now, I have nothing good to say about Juventus and McKennie's performance, so I'll end it right here. And that's all for the Americans in Italy. Okay, we're done with Italy. Now let's go to the island, but not the island that I mentioned earlier in this video. You definitely don't want to go to that island. I'm talking about England. We're going to go to England and talk about the Americans in the Premier League. The first one being Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Sunday, Richards started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their 1-0 win over Wolves. And yes, it was Wolves, the worst offense in the league with 18 goals scored in 28 games. But hey, they got a clean sheet. Mostly due to Dean Henderson because he even saved a penalty kick. But Chris Richards was good. He had a solid performance, helping them secure the 3 points, helping them secure the clean sheet. There's not much that I can talk about how he played. It was just a good center back performance. He was reliable and he played his role. Next up would have been A-Rob from Fulham, but he didn't even make the bench for Fulham this weekend. I couldn't find any reports on him being injured. I also don't have A-Rob's phone number, so I couldn't really call him to find out what's going on. But listen, he missed a lot of time due to a knee injury, and Fulham rested him for 2 games in a row, and then he played the midweek game. They played the full 90 minutes, so I'm going to assume that his knee is still bugging him after the surgery, so they just rested him. It's just precaution. They're just playing it safe. If it was something more serious, I think we would find some reports out there. So I would not be concerned. A-Rob was very likely just rested this weekend. Next up, we have Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. And on Saturday, Tyler Adams started and played 66 minutes for Bournemouth during their 0-0 draw with West Ham. Now, this was his first start since he got injured back in December. So this is great news because he had an MCL injury, which is kind of serious, right? It's a knee injury. He also looked fine this game. The match sharpness can be a bit better, and that will improve the more he plays. The good news here is that he's healthy. He is very likely going to be in the Usmnt March camp, and he's very likely going to be 100% for the World Cup. So there are no more concerns there. Last but not least in England, we have Brenden Aaronson from Leeds. And on Saturday, Aaronson started and played 73 minutes for Leeds during their 1-1 draw with Aston Villa. And this is not a bad result. I mean, Aston Villa is a very good team, and this was an away game for Leeds. Aaronson didn't really shine, but I thought he did fine against a very good opponent. He played his role. He's not really the type to get many goal contributions or be effective in the final third. It's mainly what he offers off the ball and his work rate. And I thought he played his role. Okay, now before we continue, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks. Don't go anywhere. Drop a like in the video. In the meantime, we'll be back very soon. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups once you play your first $5. That is right. PrizePicks is giving you $50 in lineups once you play your first $5. And if you're into basketball, every dunk, every dime, and every board will become much more exciting. So don't miss out on that. Personally, I like playing fantasy sports for basketball and soccer. Those are 2 sports I very much enjoy watching, and this adds an extra excitement to the game. When I do play fantasy sports or have my own lineups, I get to hate watch players or root for players. Obviously, hate watching is much more fun, but do whatever you want. And PrizePicks is pretty easy to play. You choose 2 to 6 player projections for any sports. You then submit the lineup and check the entry fee and the payout. The payout is very easy, by the way. You then get matched into a group where you get real money by topping that group or getting your picks right to win the minimum guarantee. You can also play PrizePicks for free because they do have a free-to-play jackpot, which you can play, as I said, for free. And PrizePicks is available in all 50 states. So download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Once again, that is the promo code CLNS at the PrizePicks app. The link is in the description. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, we are back, and now we're going to talk about the Americans in Germany, in the Bundesliga. The first one being Malik Tillman from Bayer Leverkusen. And on Saturday, Tillman started and played 81 minutes for Leverkusen during their 1-0 loss to Union Berlin, and that's a bad result. As for Tillman, he really didn't do anything. I would call it a below average performance, maybe a ghost performance, whatever you want to call it. He had 1 shot on target, but besides that, I don't really remember him creating anything or even being a goal-scoring threat. He was able to draw a few fouls here and there, but overall it was a very mad performance from Malik Tillman and Leverkusen. Next up, we have Joe Scally and Gio Reyna from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And on Sunday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Gladbach during their 2-1 loss to Freiburg. As for Gio Reyna, he was not available. He's still injured, and the last time he played a game was January 17th. That's over a month. Reyna at Gladbach is essentially the same as Reyna with Borussia Dortmund. A few minutes off the bench here and there, and then he has a random muscle injury that comes up that we're not expecting, even though he's not playing. Gio Reyna right now is 23. And I'm wondering, and I'm going to ask you a question. How will his body deal with professional soccer when he's like 28 or 29? No, seriously, this guy might not make it to like his 30s in terms of being a professional soccer player. It's insane how easily he gets these muscle injuries when he's not even playing. And he can't even sprint anymore, which is quite upsetting. But it is what it is. Next up, we have Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg and Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg because they clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Noah Kai Banks started and played the full 90 minutes for Augsburg during their 3-2 win over Wolfsburg. Now, look, Augsburg is supposed to be a relegation battle team, but right now, they're mid-table. They are overachieving. And Noah Kai Banks has been a consistent starter, helping them overachieve at age 19 in the Bundesliga. It would be simply outrageous. It would be a disgrace if Mauricio Pochettino does not call him up in March and gives him some minutes against Portugal or Belgium. I know he lacks experience, but as Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, if you're old enough, you're good enough. You have to play him. You need to give him a shot and see how he does against Belgium or against Portugal. And if he does well, bring him to the World Cup. He might actually be useful. Right now, he's our second best center back in my opinion. I think he's better than McKenzie. He's definitely better than Miles Robinson and Tim Ream. He's only behind Chris Richards. Now, is experience a concern? Sure, but bring him in. See how he does. As for Kevin Paredes, he started off the bench for Wolfsburg and he was subbed in around the 65th minute. And I don't have much to say about his performance. He's fine. He did fine. Now let's quickly go to Spain and talk about the one American that is playing in La Liga, and his name is Johnny Cardoso from Atletico Madrid. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Atletico Madrid during their 4-2 win over Espanyol, a very strong Espanyol side that sits in 6th place in La Liga. And Johnny was actually very good. I would even argue this is one of his best performances for Atletico Madrid so far. He was steady and reliable on the ball while being rock solid on defense. He got 5 tackles, 2 clearances, 3 interceptions, 6 recoveries, while also winning 8 out of 11 ground duels. Performances like this should get Johnny in the USMNT March camp, which would very likely be his last shot in convincing Pochettino that he can contribute in the World Cup. Yeah, believe it or not, an Atletico Madrid starter is not a roster lock for the US men's national team. Okay, now let's go to France and talk about the Americans in Ligue 1. The first one being Floating Balogun from Monaco. And on Saturday, Balogun started and played 85 minutes for Monaco during their 3-2 win over Lens. And this was a big win. It was huge. It was massive. For starters, prior to this game, Lens or Lens, whichever way you pronounce this team's name, they were leading the league. They were ahead of PSG. And the other reason this was a big win was Monaco was down 2-0 up until the 62nd minute. And guess who led their comeback? Yes, it was Balogun, the American. Balogun scored for Monaco in the 62nd minute, and it was a very nice goal. Monaco forced a turnover while Lens was trying to play out of the back. Balogun received the ball, created his own space, and scored with a very strong finish, a great goal. And that led to Monaco coming back from a 2-0 deficit. They were down 2-0 at the time, and they got this 3-2 win. And this comes after Balogun scored the brace against PSG in the Champions League during the midweek in a knockout game. He's catching fire right now. That's 3 goals in the past 2 games, and these were very tough games. One against PSG, the other one against Lens, that is currently in 2nd place in Liga. Balogun just needs to be a bit more consistent with his finishing. That's the only complaint that I have. Now, if he was a bit more consistent with his finishing and he didn't have like these silly injuries here and there, he would consistently score 15 to 20 goals per season. Next up, we have Tim Weah from Marseille. And on Friday, Tim Weah started and played the full 90 minutes for Marseille during their 2-0 loss to Brest, or Boobs, or just Sydney Sweeney's secret weapons that aren't much of a secret these days. Whatever you call it. Speaking of Sydney Sweeney, I actually watched a movie this weekend called The Housemaid. Very good movie. I highly recommend watching it because you'll learn a very important lesson. Not about boobs, not about breasts, not about any of that. If your wife hires Sydney Sweeney as your housemaid, you're in big trouble. Okay? Be careful. You might die. You don't believe me? Watch the movie. Every single movie in the history of movies is based on a real story. Believe me, I know people from Hollywood. Okay, next up would have been Mark McKenzie from Toulouse. He was suspended, so he didn't play for Toulouse this weekend. We're going to skip Mark McKenzie, and let's talk about Tenor Tessman from Lyon. And on Sunday, Tessman started and played 58 minutes for Lyon during their 3-1 loss to Strasbourg. And they were in a massive winning streak. This is a bad loss right there. Now, Tessman was subbed out when they were down 2-0. And Lyon scored a goal literally a couple seconds after Tessman was subbed out. It wasn't a great performance from Tessman. But you know what? They lost anyway. So whatever. Next up, we have the Americans in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands. And they actually all play for PSV. Ricardo Pepi and Serginho Dest. And on Saturday, Dest started and played the full 90 minutes for PSV during their 3-1 comeback win over Heerenveen in the Eredivisie. Now, at this point, they have pretty much won the league. PSV will win the Eredivisie. It's a matter of time. But the big news here was the return of Ricardo Pepi. He was finally back from injury after being out for roughly 45 days when he broke his arm. But not just that. Ricardo Pepi scored a banger. He scored a golazo that was the third goal of PSV. A beautiful goal from long distance. It was like 25 to 30 yards out. Something that it's rare for Ricardo Pepi since he usually scores poacher-like goals. Pepi only had 10 touches in the game and he managed to get 2 shots on target, one of them being a beautiful goal that got them the 3-1 lead and the win. Welcome back, Ricardo Pepi. Okay, now let's talk about the Americans that play in the EFL Championship, the second division of England. And if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to drop a like and comment down below something to boost us in the YouTube algorithm. Now, Josh Sargent finally left England and he's going to go play for Toronto FC. So we're no longer going to be covering Josh Sargent because he's not an American abroad. So let's talk about Haji Wright from Coventry. And on Saturday, Haji Wright started and played 66 minutes for Coventry during their 2-0 win over West Brom. Now, the center forward, Daryl DK, and the center back, George Campbell, both came off the bench for West Brom in this game, in case you care. Next on the list, we have Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played 75 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 0-0 draw with Oxford. Now, Middlesbrough probably should have won this game. They were actually quite wasteful, even though they were the better side. Regardless, they sit in second place and they are currently getting promoted to the English Premier League with Coventry and Haji Wright. Last but not least, we have my best friend, Agyemang from Derby County. And on Sunday, Agyemang started and played the full 90 minutes for Derby County during their 2-0 loss to Watford. And he had a terrible performance. But no one talks about it. No one cares because they have to hype his headers. Because people have this compulsive need to tell me that I was wrong about him. I was not wrong. Go watch his games. Just because occasionally Agyemang scores a header here and there, he's still not a good player. He shouldn't be in the US national team. And for crying out loud, there's no Premier League team interested in Agyemang. If you watch his games, you'll know. Just because he has a good head game, it doesn't mean he should be in the US men's national team. It doesn't mean teams from the Premier League want him. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. Now, everyone, who is my Usmnt abroad player of the weekend? Well, this week will be Floating Balogun. I was between him and Pepi, but Balogun played a crucial role on Monaco's comeback. He was actually quite good in the game against a very good opponent, so I'm going to give that award to Floating Balogun as the Usmnt abroad player of the weekend. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Thank you Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. Drop a like before you go. And that's all for today. We have a very good episode coming out on Wednesday or Thursday, so don't miss out on that. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.